being an entrepreneur sounds cool, but the reality of building a business is very, very difficult. Every level that you hit, there's a lot of things that suck that you just won't want to do. What you're capable of is on the other side. I don't feel like it.
And if you're committed to what it is that you're trying to do, nothing is going to stop you from getting there.
Welcome back to another episode of Real Business Owners with myself, Trevor Cowley. Today, we have an incredible guest, an Inner Circle member. Braiden is a newer entrepreneur, and I've got requests from people to bring on individuals that are in that first couple year phase. And I wanted to talk about startup struggles, some of the things that he's dealing with currently, how he's overcoming them, and then me sharing some strategies and some things that he could do to scale his business. I think you guys are going to enjoy this episode. Per usual, if you're ready to level up, go to joinrbo.com.
I wanted you on the podcast because, you know, you have a perspective because you're in it, right? You're in the middle of a build. You're trying to grow a business. You have a young family. Like, that's kind of what I get in the DMs of people like, oh, I'm young. What should I do? You know, like they don't know. They know that they want to do business or something, but they don't know what the hell. Where to start, you know? And so I wanted you on because it is still fresh to you, right? Like you've had other stuff. I think previous you had like a car detail business or something. How old were you when you started that?
19.
19. How old are you now?
23.
Okay. So how long did you do the car detail thing for?
I was detailing for 2.5 years.
So did you just say, hey, I want to start a business. I want to be a business owner.
Yeah.
This is the least path of resistance financially. I can just go, or did you do opposite. It prior for somebody else and just start your own?
No. So I was out in Kansas City doing door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
Some dickhead hit my parked car.
Yeah.
And I was fronting the bill for it. And I was like, man, that sucks. So I just hopped on YouTube University, figured out how to fix it. And I was like, dude, I could do this in people's parking lots. Like I could do this all the time.
So you were fixing the car?
Yeah. So I was doing some paint corrections and stuff on my own car.
Okay.
That somebody else had hit. So I was like, dude, I could do this for other people. Like, this is sick. So I kind of looked into it. And I was making, the most money I've ever made in my entire life.
Doing that? Or the door-to-door?
Doing door-to-door and doing like the teching side. So I was spraying for bugs and scared the shit out of me because there's this older guy who that was his like retirement. That was the best job he'd ever had.
Yeah.
And I was like, man.
I don't want to be that old.
I don't want to be that old in this job thinking that's where it's like, that's just the end all be all. Yeah. So I was like, I'm 19. Now is as good a time as any. And so.
What, just to go do your own thing?
Just to go do my own thing, try to make something work that's not for somebody else.
Yeah.
So we packed up probably 3 weeks later, moved out here, started.
Did you have roots out here at one, like?
Not really. My wife's grandpa lived here.
Okay.
And so we just came.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Blackfoot, Idaho.
Okay.
And that's where my wife is from too.
Yeah, okay.
So we moved down here, lived in his casita for a few months while we kind of got stuff figured out, trying to get an apartment and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was just detailing. And that was kind of how it started. My thoughts were just go for it. Just go.
So it wasn't like a side hustle that turned into a main hustle. It was like,
no, I left $120,000 a year to go
move
nothing, maybe
to nothing and go detail cars.
Yeah.
How did you get your name out originally? Or was it like word of mouth?
Knock door to door for my own. Yeah. For myself.
Say, hey, I detail cars. Yeah. Do you need a car detail? Yeah. And that's how you kicked up the majority of your business.
And then
in
I
the
started
beginning?
doing a couple of years ago, Next Door used to be pretty big. And so I'd post in Next Door in the neighborhoods, just say, hey, here's my detailing stuff. I'd offer like one car. I'd just say, hey, I need one car for free. I'll come do it 100% for free. But I'd have like 30 people text me, say, oh yeah, let's do it. I have this car. And so then I have 29 warm leads.
go do one car for free.
So the giveaway thing was more just so that you didn't hop on there
Asking for
with
something.
an ask, like be like, hey, I'm a car detailer.
Yeah.
I'd like to wash your cars.
Yeah.
But
Pay
you
me.
No. You were.
So I said, hey, I'll do this for free.
Nobody likes to feel like that they're being, sold to, or that they're going to be turning into a lead. Like most people ignore those type of posts.
Scroll right past them.
Right past it. You see somebody that's willing to work hard and do something, then it's like, yo.
Yeah. So it was just, I have this car. Can you do this one for free? And I'll say, no. I filled my spot with a higher end car. That was kind of my market, was I didn't want to deal with the crap from cheaper people.
Yeah.
So I was marketing towards higher end neighborhoods. I'd just go
6-figure type cars,
I'd go join those groups and just offer to them for free. And then I'd have a bunch of people text me, say, hey, can you do my car for free? Or even offer to pay me.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I started. And then they just tell their friends, and that's how I got started. Yeah.
So where did the transition happen to what are you doing now? And so obviously the transition happened like a year ago, year and a half ago, something like that. 2 years ago?
No, only 8 months ago.
8 months ago?
9 months. Yeah. 9 months ago.
Okay. So where did the opportunity come about? Why the adjustment, and what is it that you're doing?
So my wife worked for a property management company. And he just knew I was handy. I'd grown up on a ranch my whole life. Yeah. Like, hey, I need help over here. So I kind of started doing that for him. He was just paying me hourly. And I was like, dude, this doesn't make any sense for me to run my tools, my equipment. I said, I need to own the business, and you can 1099 me out, or however you want to do it. That was kind of where
that was the side hustle.
That was the side hustle for a few months was all. And
so
then
you were detailing cars, supplementing your income by fixing shit for a property management company. Yeah.
So just doing patch and paint, stuff like that. And once he talked to me, and I said, no, I need to own it. He has 130 just rental properties, plus he has a bunch of HOAs. The money's there. I just need to get in. And so I kind of made the switch to that was my thing, has always been, there's no reason to half-ass something.
Yeah. Well, you grew up on a ranch, bro. And so, that kind of branded it into your soul.
And just go for it.
Yeah.
And so I called my detailing company All Out, because I was like, I'm going all out.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been the mentality of just jump in, sew your parachute on the way down, I guess.
Yeah. What's been, one of the biggest surprises that you've experienced thus far in making the switch? Whether it's a good surprise or a bad surprise. And I mean, any of it could be, a surprise regardless.
How bad I am at business. Probably. Because
you're a great worker. You're a hard worker.
Yeah.
And that's got you places.
And I can do enough. The thing was when I was like, I'm doing this wrong.
Yeah.
Because it was when I had my highest gross months that I was like, dude, I didn't make any money. But I didn't see it as much when I was only making $5-6 grand.
When money's coming and going and the fluctuation, you're not really looking at everything. And
playing with bigger numbers, so it hurts more.
Yeah. So when you're wrong, it's not on a couple $100, thousands of dollars.
Yeah. That was my thing, was I was like, man, I did, $15,000, and I was like, I saw $3 grand. I was like, where did it go?
Where did my pricing go wrong? Or
probably 2 months ago was the biggest hit that I was just like, I'm doing something wrong. I need to find it while I'm still small.
Yeah. So
I just kind of went through over the course of a couple of days, found where I was.
Was it misquoting, or, I mean, it was usually if there's a little bit left at the end, either it was a misquote in terms of what was the items needed, or on the amount of time that you would be spending.
Kind of just everything. And it was just the cost of, I guess it was probably the big thing was the cost of doing business, really. How do you quote
something that you've never done before?
Well, even
Is that what you mean?
Not so much that, how do you quote an oil change into redoing somebody's deck? So I'm like, yeah, it cost me $4, you know, on this guy just to maintain my truck.
Yeah.
It cost me $8 to maintain my truck while I did this job. It was just the little stuff like that I was just getting nickel and dimed and didn't even realize
It's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
It's like, it wasn't like one big obvious thing that stood out and said, this is the expense that's killing you.
I wasn't misquoting the job. I was misquoting my expenses of fuel, oil.
Yeah.
Like just stuff, you know, tires for
Basic
my truck.
stuff that is easily overlooked in the beginning. Like you're accounting for all the obvious shit, you know, but you're not looking at all the stuff that goes on the backside of actually getting it done.
And when I was making money and I was busier and I was running around more and I was using all that stuff that I was missing more and more, I was like, dude, I did $18,000 and like I ran my truck 3 times as much, or I ran the equipment 3 times or whatever. Like I needed to buy more stuff than I have ever needed to do.
So you're now factoring just every possible equation in when you're doing it. So did that by default inflate your quote a little bit on jobs?
Yeah, a little bit.
So usually what people are doing is, you know, there's job costing where you're kind of breaking it down, right? Exactly. Materials, time, you know, now you're going as far as gas, and, you know, like all of the little things.
And I've just kind of factored that into like having more margin in materials.
Yeah.
Cause you know, I spend an hour going to Home Depot or whatever.
Yeah.
I spend probably a full day every week
driving back and forth, getting a part or getting this or that. Yeah.
Or what I forgot. So
yeah, exactly.
I kind of just, and then, you know, that's a tank of fuel.
Yeah.
Like that cost me $100.
Yeah.
And it was just,
bro, I've been,
killing me.
Dude, I was a framer for a minute.
Yeah.
So
you know how quick it goes.
Somebody's leaving constantly to go pick something up, or, you know, like,
and 30 minutes later you forgot
this
something
site
else.
needs this site need, you know. And so there's always like, usually the owner is kind of like the runner running around, making sure everybody's got their shit, shaking hands with new people and, you know, trying to get new business. And so it makes it tough when you're the one you're the one shaking the hand, doing the work and running back and forth to Home Depot, because it's
a constant battle.
Yeah, it's a battle, no doubt. So
that was the biggest thing for me, was just like not just competing with other people, but finding my own bottom line. Yeah, because there's always somebody that's going to do it cheaper.
Yeah,
and shittier.
And
that's not what I'm going to do.
You don't have the ability to control that. The only thing you can control is doing a great job, you know, and letting word spread that you do a great job. I mean, if somebody would rather pay a higher amount to know what they're getting.
100%.
You know, like, I don't care. As long, if you do it, I'd rather pay more, because it's like, okay.
At least you know what you're getting.
Yeah, there's a high standard that comes with that. Yeah. Versus somebody having to come back and fix something else that somebody else did shitty. Or you've probably seen shit like that.
And I mean, I've done it.
You know what I mean?
I literally yesterday, I had to go back to a job that I messed up.
Yeah.
Because it happens.
Yeah.
But those cheaper guys
might not show back up.
Definitely won't show back up.
Yeah.
And so that was another part of it, was, you know, I almost need an insurance cost built into my quote of, you know, I'm going to show back up. I'm going to answer your calls. I'm going to make stuff right if it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Because I take that risk.
As a part of like a warranty or something like that. And there's that.
So I just kind of have to inflate my price, you know, just a couple bucks.
Well, especially if you start hiring people too, you'll probably have to go back more frequent.
Which will probably happen this year. I'll probably hire somebody at least part-time.
Yeah.
And
So talk about,
that scares me.
Talk about what it looks like to be in startup mode. Like,
it sucks.
You know, like financially, a lot of restraints.
Yeah.
Hours wise, like the hours that you work. We were talking about that prior to getting on the podcast. You know, I was like, how you doing? Busy. I said, you made time for a podcast today? And he's like, yeah, I got up super early to get what I needed to get done. And then I asked, you know, okay, so do you have a cutoff time? And, you know, what was your response to that?
No, I just, when it's done, that's my cutoff time.
Which means some days look like what?
Yeah. Last week I was up at I had a pour in, we were doing a little concrete slab up towards Dameron Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be there early, trying to beat the heat. So I was up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to get my stuff ready, head up there because it's, 40 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And that day, finally got back. I got called onto another job from the management company.
Yeah, the property management people.
And they said, hey, we have this. Can you get out there? So I said, yeah, I'll head out there, go out and do it. And it just went, shit just hit the fan on that one. And so I was out there till, I think, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's kind of worst case scenario.
Yeah.
From 4 a.m. to 11 p.m., but that just happens sometimes.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that, and you said, 10, 12-hour days, and don't get me wrong, he gets up early on a Friday in order to be able to make this happen and then go spend time with his family. But it's like, it's not like balanced like that on a day-to-day basis when you're in startup mode and you're pretty much solo bolo, trying to do it all. How do I get my name out there more? How do I fulfill these jobs? How do I quote properly? How do I, it's like all of these, how do I manage my personal finances while I'm growing a business? How do I manage family while I'm growing a business? And so it sounds like for the most part, you're doing what you can. Maybe, are you working on Saturdays and Sundays too? Or do you try to, unless it's an emergency, you're getting some time today, but
I work Saturdays most
Saturdays,
of the time, yeah.
Like a half day, or try to be home, but it just depends on what it looks like. I try to be home,
yeah. I usually try to schedule them a little lighter. Usually my Mondays are a little lighter too.
Yeah.
And so I spend some time in the office just like quoting and billing and stuff like that. So I do
doing
get
the fun shit.
Yeah, doing all that fun
bullshit
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get a little bit of a break there. Saturday's kind of the same way. I'm just wrapping it up for the week.
Yeah.
And then Monday I unwrap for the week and get ready to go again.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, usually I'm
chill,
hanging out with family.
Yeah. I just wanted people to understand, like, you hear about it. Hey, you got to grind, you got to work hard, you got to work your 60, 70 out. Like that is just the reality of being in startup mode. The idea is to get to the point where it's like, okay, I've capped my abilities out as a single individual because there's only 24 hours in a day. Now, what do I do next? What do I take off my plate first in time wise, right? Do I hire the person that does the books or the invoicing?
That one.
What
would you suggest is the first thing you take off? What has been your strategy?
Anything that's a non-revenue generating activity.
I hear you say that all the time. How do you classify a because
do you get paid to send out invoices?
Eventually.
No. Why are you sending out the invoice?
To get paid.
Because you did a job.
Yeah, it's done.
So what brings in the money for your business?
Yeah, the labor.
You doing the work. So if you're the only one in your business right now that has the ability to do the work, where should the majority of your time go? Being the guy doing the work, and then you outsource the other stuff that wouldn't take the same wage in order to do.
Why wouldn't you outsource the work or the labor and you are the administrator? If that's
one, because you're not an administrator,
suck at it.
That's not where you shine. That's not your strong suit. Somebody out there is way better at that than you. And I highly doubt that that's where your passion, being raised on a ranch and doing what you do, like you've always used your hands, you've always, like, I just don't really see you thriving in an admin position. Guess what happens when you hire somebody else? You're going to want to be next to them, making sure that there's some quality assurance. You don't just hire and you're not going to send them out on a job and cross your fingers and hope they did a good job. For a while, you're going to have to be on the front lines. People are going to trust you. They can tell you work hard. You look like you were raised on a ranch. You know what I mean? Like, flat out. Like, you have the look of like, okay, this guy is a hard worker, period. That I know I'll get that from him. Right? And so, like, your likelihood of being out shaking hands and getting jobs that is a money revenue generating activity right there, is you being in front of people that you could get jobs from. Another revenue generating activity is you actually doing the job so that somebody can send an invoice, because that's what brings in money. So the idea is those parts of your business are revenue generating activities. Your business will live and die off of those things. If you don't meet more people that you can do business with and you don't actually do the work, there's no money. That's a revenue generating activity, right? There's plenty of businesses that do those things and don't do any of the back end things at all. They do those terribly, end up with back taxes, and they're selling all their shit, trying to liquidate because they were great here, but they didn't have somebody great behind them. They're good at, stir flipping shit, but somebody needs to behind the picking up that shit, and so that's why I would say that if you got that off of your hands, that would give you more time in the field and shoulder to shoulder time with somebody that has the ability to come in and potentially replace you one day, right? And you want to be in proximity to that person. Now you're going to take on everything that you're currently doing and then hire and train and keep doing everything else.
Babysit.
Now your jobs slow down because you have somebody else next to you. You can move quicker by yourself. That's just the reality of it. But you're not going to get as far as you want by yourself, if that makes sense, right? Definitely. Like building an actual real business. And so it's like, why wouldn't you offload the things that you're not the best at right now, that are non-revenue generating activities, that frees you up time to do those things? Part of a revenue generating activity, I think, is finding somebody else that could do the work at a high level as well. Why? Because every time that they're out there doing something for an hour and you pay them 25 or 35 an hour and you're getting paid 50, you get the difference. Finding and hiring and training the right person, I believe, is a revenue generating activity, because that person will eventually be the one doing the work and generating revenue so that somebody can send the invoice, right? And so there's back end stuff after money is generated. I don't look at those as revenue generating activities. Those are just activities that you're required to do because you generated revenue, if that makes sense. And so anytime I tell somebody like, hey, non-revenue generating activities, I just start thinking about like, will this bring me in money? This one activity by itself. And if it's a no, right? Like, you're not ever going to get paid to send invoices. You're going to get paid because of the jobs you did, right? Unless you want to be an admin for somebody one day and get paid to do that stuff. Then for you, that would be a revenue generating, an income generating activity more. Sounds like
my worst nightmare.
Yeah. So that's why I say that is just, you're better in the field. I think that's really where you, even if you curse it some days, which I'm sure you do. Fuck, what like, that's where you're best served. I believe with where you're at. Yeah. All that other stuff, emails, follow-ups, appointment setting, invoicing, all that could be done. You can even have, a virtual assistant be sending out emails.
That's kind of, I'm getting close to
maybe leaning that way. Yeah.
Because I've talked to Scott.
Yeah.
And like you said, I hate that.
They do an incredible job. Like, you can find somebody that does bookkeeping too.
Yeah.
That's a bookkeeper and can send invoices and can schedule.
That's what I would need. Is I just need somebody, because I spend probably, I don't know, at least 2 hours a day at night. Usually I get home at 6 or so, put the kid to sleep.
Yeah.
And then from
open a computer up and figure out from what the hell you need to
8
do.
or 9.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for 2 more hours.
Yeah.
Done by 11 usually.
Yeah.
And to not have to do that would be.
That's the thing, is you're buying back that time at your home, and not only that, you're buying more time, where you could focus in the field if you want, if you want to spend more time out there, because there are probably some days, like you said, on Mondays, I don't go right out in the field. I'm doing office type shit. Well, you could go directly out in the field. So the question is how much do you value that time at home and the time that you could take out in the field? If you're spending even 5 hours a week and you command a rate of $100 an hour, that's $500 a week, that you could make and offset somebody that's $1,500 to $2,000 a month, but now you're not having to do any of that back end stuff, and it frees you up to make that. Your focus should be the next hire.
Yeah.
Once that's taken care of, right? And just because that might take you 3 or 4 or 5 fucking 10 people to find the right hire. Anybody that's listening to this that owns a business knows what I'm talking about. There's just a law of averages. The likelihood that you hire the person to, you know, be the person and then show up and be the person is super fucking slim.
More than 3 days.
Oh, fuck, dude. You know what I mean? Like, start them out on a hot day, just test them, throw them into the boiling pot right away. But it's just the way that it is. And sometimes I tell people, hey, hire this person or try to do this. And like, people give it a fucking blink of an eye's effort. Like, they'll try. If it doesn't work in a blink, then they're like, dude, I'm just going to go back to what it was.
This.
I mean, you'll hire and you'll bitch and complain. Like, hey, I've got a shitty employee and they don't listen or show up late or what do I do? That'll be like the problems that you have now, you won't have when you take care of some of the back end stuff. The next problem that you have is to figure out the right person that can be by your side. And you might have to go through 2 or 3 or 4. That's the frustrating part, is because you're going to give effort towards it, but you're not going to get the result that you want. And that lack of result's going to get you frustrated and say like, fuck it, I'm just better off doing it by myself. And then you see those guys that are 40, 50, 60, solo
grown.
fucking guys that always just made, you know, 100, 150 grand a year doing their own thing. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's not like they have usually a whole bunch to show for it.
No, never.
You know? And so it's like they just kind of lived off that for their life.
And usually barely.
Yeah.
Is what I see all the time. Yeah.
Dude, you see like some handymen that are great at what they do, but then they still are struggling because they're really not the best business people.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know how to get themselves out there. So some days they might not have jobs.
Yeah.
You know, but they command a decent rate, but it's so inconsistent. The nice thing with what you got is you have a guy that has 130 something, you know, something's fucked up all the time. I mean, it's 130. Your odds are in your favor that you're going to stay busy.
Yeah. It's,
you know what I mean?
Cheating almost.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like, you know, getting the cheat code up, down, select, like going into the game, you know, but, you know, you got to take the wins where you get them. You know, if that's a win, that I believe that you created for yourself by being who you are and being able to show up on the little teeny things initially as a side hustle at a high level, or else they wouldn't have said yes to you.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? So it's just,
I mean, he had 7 other guys to choose from.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a million handymen out there.
Especially here in St. George.
Fuck, you Google it, dude, you just don't know what you'll get. They might've got out of prison last week, but they're handy with a screwdriver. Good human beings doing good work. Somebody that you can trust, and even based upon, unfortunately,
give them the keys to your house.
Appearance, that's just part of it. Like we naturally are like scanning a human being. Can I trust this person?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's subconsciously there. And so I think that, you know, that's why I said you'd be best being out front because you have that about you. You know what I mean? And so you eventually are just driving jobs, checking on the jobs, having 3, 4, 5 guys, and you have 5 property management companies that you service. Is that going to kind of be your niche? Is that what you're going to try to go for? Or what's like, how are you going to expand?
That's kind of what I'm going for. I really am looking to do like kind of like a maintenance program kind of thing.
Like a monthly, like paid, like so that I'm at your service. So
65, $65 a month or whatever, $100 a month. That gets you this, and this.
Yeah.
And then
what is this, and this? Have you thought about any of those things? I'm sure you've had, you know, what is that, like change your fucking air filters?
For
shit like that.
People because it's beneficial for everybody. You know, the tenant doesn't have to worry about it. They're not going to get charged on their deposit. And then on the flip side, the homeowner doesn't have to worry about nothing being done by the tenant because they're technically responsible for most of that stuff.
Yeah.
So we would just come in, you know, monthly or quarterly or whatever it may be, and
just do a checkup, patch up or whatever.
Yeah, patch and paint type stuff, air filters, light bulbs.
Yeah.
And then it helps the property management company keep eyes on stuff.
Yeah.
We go in there, we see some damage, we can take a picture of it, send it into their system. They have documentation
That something was jacked
that
up.
something would happen.
That was unreported or
That
whatever.
was, not reported by the tenant. Then they have documentation. Then it can be charged to the tenant. The homeowner's happy. The tenant doesn't feel like they're getting shorted
It's like a
because
set of eyes
we
on
have
the
proof.
property
Yeah. Just
without you having to be the eyes on
Yeah.
the property, you know, because
And
nobody
then-
wants to really meet their tenants.
no, exactly. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
why they have property management
Why they have
companies.
property
That's why I
managers
did
and
it. I'm
don't
like,
touch
bro, you
it.
fucking pull their credit.
Yeah.
You check their W-2s or
You
whatever.
get the complaints about
Yeah.
the plumbing and
Yeah, 3 a.m. fucking phone
Yep.
call that something happened.
Yeah.
Like, I got all that shit, but I was just through my property manager,
yeah.
which made it nice. He's like,
I get
"Dude,
an email, once a week or whatever.
yeah,
And you respond to it when you want, not
Yeah.
at 2 a.m.
yeah. He just sends me a text. Hey, he's requesting this. I'm like, no. He's like, yeah, that's what I told him.
My goal is, I think at like 25,000 a month. I
In
think
revenue.
yeah, I think in 25,000 a month revenue. I think that's about where it would be to hire a VA to make it make sense, to still make money, and still have everybody happy.
So you're 25 minus your overhead, right?
Yeah.
If you're
Which
right
is
around,
pretty little, but
yeah. I mean,
And the
what do you
materials.
try to have your margins be? Like 40%?
yeah,
Somewhere around
Depends on the-
there.
depends
Maybe
on the
30%
job.
on some.
Yeah,
you know.
sometimes it's 30, yeah, sometimes it's 30 to 35, sometimes
Yeah.
it's 50.
Yeah, I mean, at first, that's what it'll be.
Yeah. Yeah. When it's
But
just
then you got to start factoring in the VA. Then you got to factor in
more labor.
the labor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that type of shit. So it's like, some people will hear, 40% margins. That's great margins. But then they're projecting like the fact that they have overhead and business. A good business, does 20% margins.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for businesses to have 10 or 15. Anything at 25% or greater is considered like,
It's insane.
that's an excellent
Yeah.
business model.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, it's excellent on paper, but it's not excellent when you're the
Yeah,
one
after-
making the exchange though for
after
it all.
All of my expenses that I'm able to write off and all of that, I'm closer to like, for profit for the business is like
Yeah.
20. I think I did the math on it recently. It's like 27%,
Yeah.
which once again is, still too high, but I don't have any labor costs.
I don't even think, you wouldn't have a problem if you were around 40%. Why? Because then eventually you take on another person.
Yeah.
Then that might drop it down to 25% margins or 20% margins. Then you have a VA doing some stuff. Now it's down to 17 or 18% margins, right? So it's like, if you looked at a job, how much would you pay somebody else that is going to be quality? Because you're not going to be able to pay them $10 an hour and get a
Have it be
$30 an
done.
hour
Yeah.
guy or 40, you know what I mean? So it's like, it has to be somewhat comparable. Pay has to match expectations to a certain extent, right?
Now it's another reason that I'm waiting until I'm pretty comfortable to hire,
Yeah.
is so that I can pay too well so I don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah.
If I can pay somebody $25 to $30 an hour to do a $20 an hour job,
Yeah.
there should be zero problems staffing it. There should be
Yeah.
zero problems with that person.
Well, it should be zero problems holding a high standard because
And
you're paying for a
for it.
standard.
Yeah.
You know what I
So
mean?
either
Like,
they do a bad job and they get canned within 2 weeks or whatever.
it wouldn't be hard to replace.
I have 30 other applications already.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my hesitation, is I want to get to that threshold to where
To create an opportunity
to keep
great
growing.
enough to hire
Exactly.
great enough.
Exactly.
To give yourself the highest likelihood to not have to go
Yeah.
through 5 or 10 people. It still may happen.
Probably.
I mean, it's again, still very rare. Even when you pay good, sometimes we misread people.
Oh yeah.
We're like, fuck, he's going to be great.
Happens all the time with customers.
Bro, dude, I had a guy walk in for an interview one time, and first thing he says when he sits down, he's like, dang, you got big arms.
I like this guy.
I'm like, fuck, dude, what position are we interviewing him for? He's got it. What position do you want? Take my desk, take over the company. And then he was interviewing for a sales job. And then he's like, do you guys have scripts here? Like where I can read? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, we have to train you on a script, make sure that you're following compliance and, you know, all that stuff. He's like, okay, good. Like, if the will's already invented, I don't want to reinvent the will. There's a reason there's a script, and I just love to read the script and stick to the script. I'm like, that's the hardest thing that we have about the sales department, is that people sticking to the script. Yeah, you know. And I was like, bro, this guy's perfect. And so I hired him. I was like, bro, this guy's going to be the shit. And he was shitty.
Yeah.
He was a great interviewer, though.
Yeah.
He 10 out of 10. He should be setting up interview consultations. You know, if it's a man, talk about his arms and then say this. Because you'll get the job after that. It's up to you to do it, you know, because they'll shit.
You'll get one paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much was the case. So, yeah, some people camouflage really, really well. And you're like, dude, I'd bet big on this pony right here. And then, you know, you get a shit sandwich, you know. That's part of the gambling process. The idea is, if you're gambling, give yourself the best fucking odds to win, though. You know, even and paying more is
buying a better lottery ticket.
It's a better lottery, dude. It's a filter. You know what I mean? And you don't feel as bad holding somebody accountable.
Exactly.
Because it's like, dude, no, you're actually going to piss me off, because the exchange I'm making here is fair.
Yeah.
I'm giving you an opportunity to make more than what you could make anywhere else.
Yep.
Because I believed that you could provide this result or this standard, and it's not happening.
Well, and if you can't, then, you know, peace it sucks, but I guess, peace out. It's not.
Somebody's going to sit in that fucking seat.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
You know, it could be you.
And if it's not, that's not my problem.
Yeah. And that's how
I've seen it too much. Like, that was part of the reason that I was like, I'm sick of being around poor leaders.
Yeah.
I'd see people hire in, like, you know, even if it was a $15 position, I was like, you guys suck at hiring.
Yeah.
Like, anybody can see that. I don't know why.
Anybody walks in with a pulse, they're like, you're in.
You got it. And then they take 8 months to fire them after they sucked the first 2 weeks,
hoping that they get turn it around or something.
I'm like, I could tell you
right now,
it's not going to happen.
They're garbage,
and it never does.
Yeah.
And then you are 7 months in the hole.
Yeah.
And then you still get to start over.
Yeah.
So that was a thing for me. If, you know, when I hire in the next few months, it's just gonna.
Let's make it quick.
It's going to be quick. It's going to be
figure this thing out.
It's going to be clear cut, and it's going to be fair.
Yeah.
Of, hey, here's the expectations.
Yeah.
Either meet them or don't. Either have a job.
Yeah.
You know, or don't.
I used to tell people, yeah, I'll hire you, but it's up to you whether you keep your job or not.
You stay.
You know, because I have never fired anybody in the history of me owning businesses. They fired themselves through an action or inaction that put us in a situation where we're now having to sit down.
Yeah.
And now you forced my hand to do something that you're claiming that you don't want to have happen, because you're sitting here crying, saying that you don't want to lose your job, but your actions said otherwise. You know what I mean? And so it's like, for me, I say that upon hiring somebody, so that if I have to have that conversation, I'm like, bro, I told you day one. I didn't fire you.
Yeah.
You let go of yourself, and how you did it was this, and this. That's just not a standard that we can allow. And if I allow that, I'm showing everybody else what I'm willing to tolerate and accept. And now the standard comes down. Yep. Like, dude, it's just a fact that
it's just a plague.
Well, dude, people said when Tom Brady showed up to practice, everybody elevated their game. So if it's completely obvious in a good way, we need to look at it how it affects people in a bad way, like having a cancer or somebody that's incompetent, and what that does to reflect back on you as somebody owning a business that is allowing that in their business for everybody else to see. Why would I want to work hard when I already know I don't have to and I can keep my job? You know, more people are worried about losing their job than they are getting a raise. So they'll do everything to protect their job, but that doesn't mean they're going to do everything to excel and try to
not be lazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like show up on time, clock in, clock out.
Yeah.
just enough.
Let's just have some
to hold on for 7 or 8 months. Maybe tell them the right things. Yeah. Like, I'm learning. It takes me a while. I'm
figuring it out still.
Yeah, like that. All that bullshit. It's like,
hop on YouTube for 10 minutes and you'll figure it out.
That's what I'm saying. If you pay well, they better have it already figured out if they're applying to that.
Or willing
that pay,
to.
Yeah, that pay scale, right? Like,
because to be honest, like, I've learned everything. I mean, I
grew working.
I just
sat somebody next to it.
When I was like 14 years old, I was running a crew out on the field of like these college kids.
Yeah.
And they would not freaking listen to me. And so my boss came down, like, hey, you guys get to listen to this scrawny little 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And he's like, he knows more than you. So that sucks for you, but you get to listen to him. And because the whole time I worked for that guy, all he'd tell me, even at that age, running like $1 million worth of equipment, millions and millions of dollars worth of hay that we were shipping to Japan, and the Kentucky Derby, like serious stuff, like big money, big boy money.
Yeah.
And I'd call him and he'd say, well, figure it out. Hang up. I was like, damn it, dude.
Fuck this guy. In your mind as
I'm 14, 15 years old. I was like, shit, okay.
But the right guys always figure it out.
So I figured it out.
A million times.
All the time.
Yeah.
And that's been huge.
What's crazy to me about that is like, some people would label that as not necessarily a good leader.
Yeah, a bad boss almost.
Bad boss.
Doesn't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
He just leaves. Like, that's the best thing ever.
To me, if anything, that shows more freedom, more trust.
Trust, the size.
More, just like that agency for you to make a decision and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And them saying, you'll figure it out, is also just them putting a belief on you. Like, I believe in you. You'll figure it out.
And 15 years old, I was like, man, I was like, shit, like, what if, this is a $1 million tractor, like, that just broke out in the middle of the field. I have some twine string and a wrench. This thing weighs
a gazillion pounds.
Yeah. Like, I'm pulling something that weighs thousands of pounds, and I'm just going to figure this out. Like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to figure this out. I figured it out.
Better figure it out than being stuck there, And so I think that's an incredible thing to do for people. So I was consulting with somebody just yesterday. I've got a couple people that pay me $1,500 an hour consult. Well, hey, this is the problem. Give us your perspective on it, right? And they're talking about hiring for a department. Like, what questions, should we have, or like, what should we say that we want that department to look like? And I was like, have her tell you.
Yeah.
That's like her first test. So you're going to tell her to come in and be a leader of a department. Why don't that be her first test? Hey, tell us what you would do with this department. How would you lead it? How often would you have one-on-ones? How often would you have meetings with the team? What are some things that you think that you could do to improve it?
Yeah, how do you structure those meetings?
Those things, right? And so it's like they're wanting to figure it all out for that person, for that individual, for that role. Yeah. So they're like, and I'm like, bro, give them the freedom and the agency to show you, first off, what they believe that they could do in that department. And if they pass that test, that's a great person. And secondly, they just created their own rules. So now you could say, well, you said you were going to do this. Nobody really, like, some of us are rule breakers. We don't really like rules placed on us, like we'll try to work around them. So it almost feels like you're confined by
you set your own standards.
If you set your own standards, you can't be as upset being held accountable to the standards that you set.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, show us. And anybody that's motivated, they want to speak how great that they would do. Oh, I would do this and this, because it's an opportunity. Right. And so they're going to overshoot probably everything they would do, but it's all what they said that they were going to do. So it's much easier to hold them accountable. And if they can't simply put that together, they probably wouldn't be a good candidate to lead the department anyways, if they have no idea where to start or what to do. And you have to take their hand and show them everything. Yeah. In other words, you'll figure it out, right? Like, you bring it to us. It's like kind of the same concept. We don't give people enough, freedom to be able to figure shit out. Eventually you're just gonna have to walk
even
off
when it sucks. Cause that's the thing was like, I didn't freaking want, like, I didn't sign up for that responsibility. I was fixing fence. I was doing hay, and then eight other guys roll up and are asking me what to do that are older than me, that are bigger than, and I was like, I don't freaking know. Like, go do this, I guess. I got thrown into
pointing
it.
fingers. You're like, go that way, do this, and fix this.
I guess. And
what's one thing that you wish maybe somebody would have told you prior to entering entrepreneurship that maybe now, but you would think would be a good piece of advice or a good perspective on, what they're embarking on, and, just in general, that maybe something that you felt like you would have benefited from hearing it going in?
Just, sack up and do what you say you're going to do, which I've been able to, like, try to do at least. I think the biggest thing would just be, it just sucks some days.
Yeah. So what do you do on the days? Like, how do you reel it in?
Quit being a bitch, like you said.
Okay.
I mean, that's just...
We're all going to have days where we wonder, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, questioning.
Should I do it anymore? And
should I question,
like I said, like, not that I've been making
buku bucks,
but like, started to make some money. At least it looks like I'm making money.
Yeah.
It sure looks cooler than it actually is.
Yeah.
And that's when it sucks more, I think, because I'm starting to see it, just not there yet, working harder than I have been, and I'm still not making as much money. It's more stressful than it has been, but it's not completely paying off yet.
Yeah.
And so it's been, a struggle of like,
that's the word.
Is this actually going to pay off? I'm seeing the money, but it's still not there.
Yeah.
Is it going to come when if it keeps going? And so they just, keep showing up every day, and it's still going to suck, and you just got to do it anyways. But the trade-off is, it's a lottery ticket, like you said. I'd rather gamble on something I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully it pays off. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I go bankrupt in 10 years and I'm on the street. But I'd rather take that risk than know for a fact that I'm going to be making $75,000 the rest of my year.
With that, like, knowing that you're capped.
Knowing that I'm capped. Knowing that I'll never do
the risk of having no important. Top.
Yeah.
Is more alluring.
Way scarier.
Than knowing that somebody else is going to create,
and the reverse is way scarier. I'd rather have it be my fault that I failed or won than just go get a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
Make $75,000 or whatever, $100,000 even, and just keep clocking in. And in 30 years, I'll be making $102,000.
Yeah.
Like, that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah. Your income goes up comparative to inflation.
Like,
so
that scares me. That scares me so much to just work every single day and be in the same spot in 30 years.
Well, it's working every single day and knowing that there's no way out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the sacrifice for entrepreneurs going through what you're going through and working those hours, dealing with the financial squeeze that a startup puts on a family and an individual, the stress that it puts, you're working more hours, you're getting paid less, plus you have to do admin shit, plus you got to, it's like all of those things. But at least in the exchange, there's a possibility for something great to happen, right?
And at least it's my fault.
Yeah.
And
you can always bet on yourself. You're a hard worker. Guess what? If it doesn't work out, somebody's going to hire you at that 75 or 100, but at least, it's not wasting 5 years or 10 years. You always have that to fall back on. That was literally my thing. I'm like, bro, I'm a grunt worker.
I dropped out of not high school, out of college, because I was like, dude, in 10 years, there'll still be colleges. I'll go to college then if I need to.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah.
Screw this. And now, I'll make more money than... I was making more money than my high school teachers were.
Yeah.
While I was in high school.
Yeah. Just on the back.
And they were
trying
to teach me something, and I was like, how hypocritical is that for you to teach me something that you don't know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing more than you. I'm 16, 17 years old. I was like, this is not the way for me. My mom pushed me to go to college. I went to college for like 1 semester, 2 semesters. I don't even remember.
Dipped out quick.
And just, I was like, this isn't it. Dipped out.
Yeah.
And because I was like, I'd rather bet on myself now than later.
That's what I was like, dude, I'm literally hauling around sod, digging trenches, doing, landscape shit. And it was like, okay, well, I can go venture out and see what else is possible, because I know these people always need somebody to dig the holes and carry the sod.
Yeah.
Like, I already know I know I could do this forever. Yeah. That's already guaranteed. So we might as well venture out and have where I'm currently at be my the worst case scenario rather than
that's somebody else's,
my forever best case scenario.
Yeah, that's somebody else. That's what scared me the most, was that was somebody's best case scenario.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's stoked on this.
Yeah.
And I mean, that guy was only making I was, the top performer in that little office.
In the pod or whatever.
That we were spraying for. And I was selling the most. I was selling everybody's neighbors. I'd go service one person, I'd sell one person. And so I was making like, I was doing $2,000 worth of sales a day while I was also servicing double.
You were hitting on both sides.
Yeah. And I was servicing double the accounts. I'd take 2 people's routes every single day. And I just wake up earlier and start. And so then I could sell more people.
Yeah.
And this other guy that wasn't even doing that, he was doing less than a full route, which is only like 15 people. In
a day?
In a day. I was doing 30 plus because I was like, this is easy.
Yeah.
I was working on a ranch.
Drive around and spray.
Hop back in my AC car. Like, this is easy.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that, making the most money I've ever made in my life to date. And I was like, this still sucks. This is somebody else's best case scenario. Worst things come to worst. Like, I call this guy back up and he gives me another job. Because when I left, he was like, hey, dude, where you ever need? He goes, where are you going? I have this office, this office, this office. I go, I'm going to St. George. He's like, I have one in Las Vegas. If you ever need anything, you got a job.
Yeah.
And I was like, hell no.
That's the good thing about doing such a good job and working so hard, is that it's like those relationships that you curate of a name of like, hey, this is somebody that I would bring back anytime.
Even if we don't need them, we'll fire some. Yeah, we'll fire somebody.
Bro, we hired back a guy that used to work for us. Now he's working over at 60 Day Credit Repair. He went off to go start his own thing. It's just been slow for him, hauling shit and stuff like that. So if fucking people that need, somebody to haul shit off of a site, he still does it on the weekends, but he's like, bro, I need to come get on the phone and sell again. I need to make money. And it was like, no brainer. We've already seen what you were capable of. You showed up, you worked hard, you always put up numbers, you had a good attitude. And it's just like, bro, he was welcome back, like open doors. When you always have that type of person always has a seat. Yeah. But he went out and tried to pursue something, and he's still in pursuit of it, but it's now going to be a side thing while he's trying to grow and make main money.
And there's been times like that in my detailing that that's kind of how this started. I was like,
that was a side hustle. Yeah, I want to supplement my income.
I can kind of do this on the side. Like, I'm not working 15 hours. I can do a little extra.
Yeah. And then it morphed into something
else.
And that's just what it is, right? You never know, bro. This might just be a vehicle to something else. Everyone, usually their first business is just a vehicle to the second.
It was weird. I kind of had an ego letting like the detailing go, because I was like, I don't want to, have like a failed business almost.
Yeah, like you're walking away.
Like, quitting. I'm walking away from something, quitting.
Am I quitting?
Yeah, it was a weird transition to just be like,
I'm done.
You know what? I learned a ton, in those 2.5 years, whatever it was. I was like, I guess it is. I guess I was just learning.
Yeah.
I was like, it is what it is. I guess we'll see what this does. And
hard to leave that car and go get in a new one. You know what I mean? A different one that has unfamiliar to you. But that's usually what people's first business is just a vehicle from one thing to the next. And this might be a vehicle to something else. You just never know. I'm not saying that it is or isn't. But that's what I've found quite often is like, this served us for this period of time, but then this got us these relationships, or and then this opportunity came about, right? And it just really depends on where you're at financially, where the business is. But, you know, it sounds like that you see opportunities, right? You can find them, you have eyes for them, and they seem to find people that like to work hard and are willing to make the exchange that few people are willing to make as a business owner.
Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. As always, rate and review the show. Make sure that you're sharing the show with somebody that you believe can benefit from the information. Other than that, guys, keep kicking ass. We'll see you next week.